So I brought my skirt. I marked the center with a red pin. The more flashy the pin, the better. This is the biggest heads I have. And I'm going to line up the center of the skirt with the center of the waistband. So again, this is all, the seam is there. The more I'm working on this, the more I'm thinking I will be ripping that seam open when it's all set, so I can see exactly how tall I want the slit to be, how strong that can be. I hope it works. I don't think it'll be easy because we do have 4 layers to rip through. So I'll have to be really careful to make sure that that seam all lines up, so I can rip open the top layer and then I get to the row of stitches underneath that, etc., like a surgeon. Yeah, okay. I hope it'll work. I actually don't know because I haven't tried it. This is all in my head right now. So what we want to do is to set the center to center. So the center of the skirt goes into the where the seam is. And I'm going to try and put it so you can open your waistband. In some tutorials I've seen, they put the skirt like almost all the way to the seam and closed it like this. I think that's probably best. I'll try mine a little lower. I know already I can see my seam is not quite lining up. Another reason I'm going to put mine a little lower so I know where the seam is. So I'm about 1 centimeter from the center fold of the waistband, and then we fold like that. So there's about 1 centimeter on the top here. That's not where there's no fabric from the skirt. So I'll try that. I'm going to pin that in place and see what that looks like. In my pinning, I've already noticed one thing is that when I seam rip, I will be meeting the skirt. So in some, the layer underneath would be the skirt. So I think, gosh, I'm really hesitant about that part, but I think it needs to be done right now. In the tutorials I've seen, they made a slit right in the middle so that this will separate. I went ahead and I made a little slit in the waistband in the top of the skirt, and I'm lining that with the seam so I can see the seam of the waistband appear under that, and then fold the waistband. How did this get completely out of line? So line up all the seams and then pin. So this part needs to be pinned really securely. We're not joking with that one. All right, and then do the rest of the waistband. So because of my low level of skill, I'm going to do this in two goes. I don't want to fold this and then do a single row of stitching, because you know what's going to happen for me is because we want to stitch this close to the edge of the waistband, and so when I turn it over, I'm sure I'm going to miss the waistband. Done that many times. Well, not enough times apparently, because this is beyond my level of skills. So what I'm going to do is pin this with the waistband open, again with 1 centimeter from the center fold of the waistband to the edge of the skirt, and then I'm going to go ahead and run a row of basting stitching. So of course, when I do basting stitching, it's going to be visible on the underside, but hey, it's the underside, so it's fine. And once that's secured with basting, with a row of basting stitches, I know nothing is moving. I'm going to fold this over, and then I will stitch with this being the top, and then I can just focus on getting a row of stitching nice and close to the edge of the waistband. The advantage of doing it that way will also allow me to line up those four layers of seams, because I'm just worried about lining up the slit from the skirt waist with two of those, and then I'll fold over and make sure it's lined up. So I took this to my sewing machine and I worked a row of baste stitches to attach the waistband to the skirt, and so this is what it's going to look like on the back side. And I just went straight across. I did not worry about the center slit. And then this is what it's going to look like on the front side. I do have this wonderful row of contrasting stitching, but it's okay because the belt is going to come over that, and then I will work, close it with a row of stitching here. So the only thing is, when I did the base stitching, I did it a little higher so that it will comfortably be hidden by the waistband. So before I close the waistband though, now is a good time to add anything we need to add at the end. So I did do some more fitting and investigation. And I estimated that it was a good idea to have the ribbon, the ribbon for the waistband, go past the edge of the skirt by the length of the skirt. So I want this to go on, and it's short, so I will add on the end so that it goes roughly to the edge. And this is an estimate. The ends can be really finished at the very end. So I'll go ahead, and you want to make a seam here at the end. If you need to, maybe your bits were longer than mine, but for me, I need to do a bit of patchwork and add some. Judging from the seam I have at the center, where is it here? It's going to be very not visible, almost invisible. So I am not worried at all about having to add a little bit here, nor am I really worried about where I'm doing this seam. So I trimmed each piece evenly, and I did my seam. I'm gonna press it open. I have to fold this part of the belt, do the same on the other side. We'll deal with the raw edges later, at the very, very end, I think. And now it's the big pinning job. What we want to do is to close up the waistband from end to end. So we're going to start stitching all the way, like as close as we can to the edge, and stitch, 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 and then when we stitch, and then when we get to the skirt, we stitch, we keep going. So this is where we close the waistband over the top of the skirt, and we have to work this top row of top stitching So this is going to show on the front of the skirt. So we gotta make this real neat, but it's going to be as close to the edge as we can, and then keep going. You also stitch the ribbon that hangs off the edge of the skirt. You really have to think about how you're going to feed this through the machine. So mine is going to go like this. No, wait a second. Yeah, it will go like this. So I want to be able to remove the pins as I go, so I gotta pin them this way. There's also a whole debate on vertical pinning versus horizontal pins. I tried the vertical ones. I'm still nervous about hitting them with the needle from my machine, so they don't really help because I end up taking them out anyway. And I don't know, it's more natural to me to do horizontal pinning, so that's what I do. And I like to put lots of pins, so I'm not a fast sewer, but I just like things to be really nice and secure. I don't gamble with this, and I'm certainly not going to gamble with this top stitching, because this got to be really neat. I'm not confident that I can get this to be to the level of finishing that I wish on a garment, because again, of my limited skills, but I'll put everything I have on my side. Yeah, baste stitching is helping tons. I am not worried about how it's holding on the back side here. It's secure, and so it's just, I only need to control the top side, how that's holding. So yeah, that was a really good idea. So I did some surgery and I opened up that center slit. I seam ripped through all of the layers. Not an easy feat. And I'm working on this little by little. They're not 100% lined up, but I think it'll be fine. So what I did is I seam ripped almost to the end, the top of the of the waistband. I probably have 5 millimeters left up there, and I didn't seam rip quite up to that point because I didn't want to go all the way. So before I stopped short, and what I did is I went to my sewing machine and I worked. I have a buttonhole feature of my sewing machine, and I use the part of it where it goes back and forth in just back and forth in little steps for a top of buttonhole. So I essentially worked a top of a buttonhole here, and then I left long tails when I cut the string off the machine because I am gonna do the stitching by hand for the sides. I thought about it. I did trials with my machines. I have an overhang stitch, zigzags. I tried several things. I just don't have the confidence, so I'm gonna go by hand. So I have those long tails, but what I'm gonna do before I do that, I'm gonna do another buttonhole here, back and forth at the bottom of the slit, finish the seam ripping, and then leave long tails as well, because I don't think so. This is probably enough, but just in case, I will leave long tails. And then I will finish the sides by hand stitching. I ended up completely finishing it by hand. Going back and forth really doesn't take that much, so I just hand stitched the rest of it. Still have little threads sticking out. It's not super duper neat. Like I said, lack of skill. I was really nervous about this. I nearly considered not making a slit, but it's more versatile. The garment is more versatile if you do have a slit in the middle here. So I think it'll work as a slit. When you wear it, it gets hidden anyway, so it's okay. It's not as pretty as I would like it to be, but this is all I could do. I think it will serve its function. So this is almost done. I've hemmed everything. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I did hem the top layer and the bottom layer. It's hemmed everywhere. So there's just one finishing touch to do, and that is the ends. The ends are still not done, so we'll work on that. So actually this one is already all straight. Not sure what the other one looks like. Yeah, the other one isn't. So this one I'm gonna have to use my rotary cutter and cut it nice and straight, but that one's already straight. And so I saw that in a tutorial, and sewing tutorial. I don't know how I'm going to be able to implement this, but what I saw them do was to tuck in the ends all the way around. Just tuck that in. I guess I should also try and tuck the thread in, everything in. Come on, go in. Just all of this messiness all in there. And then I will press it with my iron, make it nice and flat, and after that top stitch and do the same on the other one, and it'll be finished.